I'm screwed. I'm screwed. I don't know who hit my car. I can't get the insurance for it. So, this is a good thing. The signs are a good thing. Just because something doesn't allow you to do something that you want to do does not mean it's against you. Have you thought of that before? No, you haven't. And obviously this was so celebrated. Everyone was cheering about this. This was a great thing. And it's funny when you hear the guys talking about this. They're even talking about like, oh yeah, this sign was trying to prevent gay guys from finding intimacy. And that, like I said, that's not true at all. If the city was trying to prevent gay guys from finding intimacy, they would have shut down the gay bars they were also going to. That's what would have happened if it was actually anti-gay. It's not anti-gay, it's not having sex in public. That's the actual problem here. They were having sex in public. That's the big issue. In the article it states, in 1997, no U-turn and no cruising signs went up around Silver Lake to stop members of the LGBT community from cruising in the area, citing a 2011 article by Eastsider Hugo Martinez office said cruising in that context was a euphemism for searching for sex partners. So in the own article where it's saying it's a homophobic anti-gay law, it's admitting that the cruising thing is justifying sex partners. It's literally just for sex purposes. That's all it's for. Which is just kind of gross, honestly. Especially that they're doing it in public. And they're driving around after bar hours, so most of them are probably drunk. Because why else are you going to go to a bar? Name one reason why you're going to a bar. Okay, you're not drinking apple juice at a bar. Most people who go to a bar are going to get drunk. They're going to drink. And you're encouraging people to drive around after they have consumed alcohol. That's unsafe. That's not that's not anti-gay, it's not homophobic. It's intelligent. That's a smart thing to do. At the time, members of the gay community claimed that undercover police deliberately lured men they suspected of being gay in order to arrest them. How does that work? How like, can you explain how that works? How does a cop lure a gay person to arrest? Like, you still broke that. That's like me. That's like a cop saying. That's like a criminal saying that the cop lured me to rob the bank with a firearm. Like that. Like, what are you talking about? So, I hope that helps with this. I hope you learned something from this segment of me teaching you some American history. So they finally took down the no cruising signs, which is, the most triumphant thing in human history. Not World War II, not D-Day, not finding Baghdadi or Saddam Hussein. Had a Joe Biden moment there. No, but it's not about finding the terrorists and stopping terrorism. It's letting gay guys drive around drunk at night. That's triumph right there. Moving on. The war in Ukraine has been going on for the last 2 years. Russia has invaded Ukraine on multiple occasions, and Trump was the only president in America so far to stop Russia from invading Ukraine when Russia planned on invading Ukraine. He's the only one. Biden hasn't done it. Obama didn't do it. No one has done it. So anyway, Joe Biden's been helping Ukraine with this whole war. Joe Biden's been helping Ukraine more so than he's helping his own people. I don't know if you've seen the memes or anything like that, but there's literally memes out there showing you what Joe Biden could have bought with the money that he spent on Ukraine. Some of these things including ending homelessness, fixing Flint's water system, and giving tons of money to the people who were affected by the Maui fires. But no, we're gonna give money to a war effort that we have no business being in. And if we elected Donald Trump, the war would have happened in the first place. But now it leads us to today. So Joe Biden helped Ukraine launch multiple missile strikes in Crimea. The missile strikes ended up killing 3 civilian children and injuring hundreds of people. It was on a beach. The missile struck a beach during a vacation. This is like people hanging out at the beach, and it struck the people just hanging out at the beach. You guys remember the lies that people talked about with Trump? How he was like a Russian asset. He's a Russian. He's dealing with the Russians. And he was going to start World War III. And he was going to get us in so much trouble. And whatever. Biden's literally getting us into that right now. But that was the mainstream belief. Trump was the guy that was going to get us in all this trouble, according to the mainstream media. That was the big mainstream belief. However, if you had more than 11 brain cells in your head, you probably didn't believe it. Because you don't have to be that smart to not believe it. And if you still believe it, you're even dumber, because Trump's proven that he's very successful with foreign affairs. He's very good with it. He didn't start a single new war when he stepped into office. That is an impressive task to pull off. The people who are smart, like me, could have predicted this was going to happen. Because Joe Biden has a record of being a warmonger. This is just his DNA. That's something that he just does. Personally, this is the reason why I didn't join the military. I have many people ask me, why didn't you join the military? Why didn't you join the military? You should join the military. I've even had people criticize me in my own comment sections for me not joining the military. I'll tell you why I'm not going to join the military. And I'm gonna even tell you why nobody should join the U.S. military. The U.S. military is not a service that you can be honorable in. I mean, you can be. I'm not saying that there's no way you can be. But it's hard to always be right when you're in the U.S. military. Because depending on the president's agenda, you are either going to be screwed or you're going to be good. You're going to be in the clear. Depending on the agenda. Okay, things like Vietnam and Abbeygate and, Benghazi. Those are all things that happened to people who joined the military and the wrong person was in office when they joined the military. They got screwed. Completely screwed over. And you never even know, historically, whether or not you're going to be on the right side. Oh, but if you don't join the military, how do you know, who are you going to serve? Who are you going to serve if you don't join the military? Why does it matter? Why do I have to pick a side? Why can't I just be a human being? Why do I have to be on a side of a conflict? Why do I have to defend politicians from crappy political things, from crappy political mistakes that they made. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be the one that does that. Anyone who studies politics would agree. Joining the military is probably not the best thing you could possibly do. It's not, like, obviously there's great benefits to it. Obviously I'm thankful for all my service members, but I'm not going to do it because it's not secure enough for me. Because, like I said, you could get another president that doesn't care about you, and they send you to die in some war that helps their political agenda. That has nothing to do with yours, and it might even be a bad thing altogether. For example, most people did not like the Iraq war. The war over there. Most people did not like that. Many people were against that war. But you had to do it anyway. The pullout was terrible. The pullout in Afghanistan was terrible. And then you have Abbey-gate, where you literally had to watch people be tortured and killed by the Taliban 150 yards from you. You had to fight with people every day trying to get through the gate. And you had to watch people literally commit suicide with razor wire. And if the agency didn't want to deal with the people that... If the agency didn't want to deal with a certain person, you were forced to hand them back to the Taliban. I'm sorry, is that honorable? I'm sorry, I don't want to do something like that. And that's why I'm not going to serve the military until I can guarantee that what I'm going to do is going to be the right thing. Because if I can't do the right thing, if I don't know for sure of whether or not my people have my best interests at heart, then I'm not going to risk my life for you. I'm sorry. That is just stupid. It's not smart. I don't understand why you would want to risk your life for people who don't care about you. Especially Joe Biden of all people, who literally put a bunch of U.S. soldiers in a parking garage when it was 30 degrees outside in the heat of COVID. This was like during the big COVID thing. He put 5,000 people in a parking garage. It was below freezing outside. That is terrible. Especially to treat your soldiers like that, who were literally protecting your own speech because you were scared that Trump supporters were going to attack it because you were an illegitimate president. It's ridiculous. And one last note before I end this video. I know I was talking smack about joining the military and stuff. People who join the military, I have respect for you guys. I think you guys are heroes. All of you guys. You guys are great. However, I still don't think that the military is a good option because of what is at risk, what you could go through. And I understand that's what you guys signed up for, but still not good because you don't know who you're serving. All right, moving on. This is going to be the last thing on the YouTube version of this video. It's going to be a little short today, because the last thing I want to talk about can't be talked about on YouTube. And to stop this video from even being taken down from YouTube, I'm literally not even going to say what it is. If you want to know what it is, you're going to have to watch the Rumble version of this video. I don't even want to risk it at all. So this is the Trump and Biden debates. So the Trump and Joe Biden, Trump and Joe Biden are going to be debating on the 27th of June. 3 days. In 3 days, we're going to have another legendary debate between the two. So in the last election, there was only 2 debates because Trump contracted COVID. So they only had 2 debates. I'll be watching the debates, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on the debates. I'll be making a video about them like I did 4 years ago. One thing I gotta say that I don't like about the debates this year is that RFK is not going to be in them. RFK is not going to be in them because Joe Biden's literally censored his own political opponent. That was one of his stipulations. One of Joe Biden's stipulations was RFK is not allowed to debate. And for those of you who don't know, RFK is basically Joe Biden's biggest threat in this election. He was running Democrat. He was running for the Democratic Party this year. But then he ended up switching it up and going independent, which is a better option. I think, to my knowledge, I think he is the highest voted independent party candidate there is. You can fact check me if I'm wrong, but he's either 1 or 2. He's either number 1 or number 2. He's been killing it. I'm not a fan of RFK, but I definitely think he's a better option than Joe Biden. So yeah, Joe Biden, one of his stipulations that is set with his debates against Trump is that RFK is not allowed to debate at all. Which is crazy, because he's literally censoring his own political opponents. RFK tried to counteract it with a petition that many people signed, and it didn't work. I know he got the signatures that he needed, but it still didn't work. Which is kind of terrible, because we have a president now, not only who convicted his political opponent with a felony, with 34 felonies, over something that didn't happen and wasn't even specifically brought up in court what he even did. What Trump did isn't even specified in the court filings. But he got charged with 34 felony counts. But this is also terrible because Joe Biden's major political threat in this election is RFK. Because Joe Biden has been tremendously terrible in this election. He has sucked this entire presidency. He's been trash. He's screwed up when it comes to foreign affairs, the border, everything. Inflation. For crying out loud, eggs were like $10 at one point. So, Joe Biden has been trash. And RFK was a legitimate threat who could have taken him out. But he never debated him. He didn't want him to debate. That looks very bad on Joe Biden. The major political threat that could potentially win the election altogether is being censored. Which is just insane. But remember, this is the same political opponent that Joe Biden refused to give Secret Service to. Secret Service protection to. Because he had assassination attempts on him, and Joe Biden refused him Secret Service protection. So we already know how Joe Biden feels about RFK. Now, how can Trump win the debate? So Joe Biden, obviously, the big thing with Joe Biden, he's going to say that Trump's a threat to democracy. Okay, I already see it coming. He's going to say it. It's his only thing against Trump. You're a threat to democracy. You're a threat to democracy. You're a threat to democracy. So what Trump can say back to this is the whole RFK thing. he can use the RFK thing against Joe Biden and his accusations that he's a threat to democracy. Oh, I'm a threat to democracy? Says the one that literally censored his political opponent and threw his other political opponent and threw charges at him. See, here's the difference. Trump didn't actually pursue Hillary Clinton. He said he would, but he didn't. He easily could have. There's nothing stopping him. He easily could have stopped. He could have easily had Hillary arrested. There's plenty of stuff there, but he didn't. But even if he did, it would be less bad because he'd be arresting Hillary Clinton after the election, not during the election. Biden's going to try to use January 6th against him, which I don't think is going to work either. That's not going to work at all because of all the tapes that came out basically proving that January 6th was just an inside job pretty much. They were literally letting the rioters and protesters in. So it's not going to work. Plus, Trump did everything he could do physically, and then all of his requests were denied. For example, he wanted the troops at the Capitol, and then Nancy Pelosi denied them. So there's really not much there to debate with Trump anymore on that topic. Biden might even use the convictions. Here's another thing. Biden might use the convictions against Trump as well. Biden might say, well, you got 34 felonies on you. This is super easy for Trump as well. Because all Trump has to say is, at least I was fit for trial. That's all he needs to say. At least I was fit for trial. Because your own DOJ didn't want to pursue you because you weren't fit for trial. That's all he needs to say. If Trump says that, it's over for him. Because that's what happened. Biden's DOJ literally said that Joe Biden's not fit for trial, and that's not why they're not convicting him. That's why they're not going to go after him. Which Trump could use that so badly on Biden. So no matter what Biden goes with here, he's screwed. One thing that Trump should not do is go after Hunter. Okay? It's not relevant to what's going on. Okay, that's one thing I hope he does not do. And one thing I hope Trump does do is bring up the handling of Russia. Okay, if he brings up the handling of Russia, especially with today, or yesterday, with the Crimean attacks, would be genius on Trump's end. If Trump could pull that off, genius. And then you could also go with the war altogether, and he could bring up the fact that we're on the brink of World War III. Literally anything works for Trump there. Because Joe Biden sucked. He could bring up the pull out of Afghanistan, the thing that Trump literally did like weeks before he took office. Trump stopped Putin, for example. That's another thing that happened. Trump stopped Putin from invading Ukraine. First president to stop Putin from invading Ukraine, at least. Because Trump was a threat. People did not like to mess with Trump. Trump was scary in most people's eyes. So no one wanted to mess with Trump. Trump was the big guy. No one wanted to mess with him. He literally had his hand around the world. And everyone obeyed what he said. If he said something, people said, yes, sir. People respected Trump. Trump acted like a real president. Joe Biden, not so much. The biggest thing for Trump out of all this, though, is that he stays reserved. Okay, if you remember, this is what killed Trump not only the last election, besides the voter fraud, but in the last election, what killed him was his outwardness. He wasn't reserved at all. He was just attack, kept interrupting Joe Biden. And he thought it would be a good plan, but it wasn't. And the reason why this killed him so bad is because you're allowed to vote after the first debate. So usually you're allowed to pre-vote before the third debate, after the second debate. However, there was no second debate that year. And the reason why that is because Trump got COVID. He contracted COVID. So he basically got screwed over from the second debate. And people voted based on that initial debate to begin with. Which I think they should just get rid of pre-voting altogether. But like last time, Trump did very well when he was cautious. He did it with Hillary. He was kind of reserved. He also did it with Biden during the second debate between the two. So he's got it for sure this time. So yeah, this time Trump just needs to be cautious and he will have it. And he'll definitely be cautious with how he acts and he'll win the debates through that. So anyway, this is going to be the end of the YouTube version of this show. We are going to move on to something that cannot be talked about on YouTube. If you saw what happened in the other video, you'll have somewhat of a clue on what I'm talking about. So if you want to watch the rest of this show, you're going to have to do so on Rumble.